I'm happy to be here with you all today for Stanford's Diabetes Care Program Wellness Group. And I'm thrilled to introduce our host today, Katie Judge. And she's here today and she's going to share some summer salads with you and us that are really easy to put together in the summer. They require minimal oven time and minimal cooking time. So it's perfect for the hot California summer. And just a little bit about Katie. She is a clinical nurse specialist in diabetes, and she has a passion for eating well and keeping blood sugars in good control. And she practices what she preaches, and she loves every minute of it. And she's going to share with us a couple of really great recipes. So I hope you're all excited and ready. And I'm going to be moderating. My name is Emily. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or there's a little question and answer box, and I'll go ahead and read them out as Katie's preparing the foods so that she can answer them in real time for us. So please don't be shy. We want it to be interactive, like Katie said just now. So I will hand it over to Katie. Thank you so much.
Well, I'd like to, first thing I want to do is do a test. Can everyone hear me okay? Leah, okay, great, thanks. Well, I really want to send a special thanks to Leah and Emily. Thank you for the great introduction, Emily. Leah, as always, thank you for inviting me to this awesome opportunity to present a little bit about things that are near and dear to me. I'm a clinical nurse specialist. I work at Stanford Hospital in clinics. I work in the adult department, so I'm mostly working with adults. And my job is really working a lot with medication for blood sugar, but also food. So I'm sort of bringing another part of myself to the presentation today. Another visit, we can talk about medications, but today we're really going to talk about food. Specifically, I'm going to demonstrate. So get your you could just sit back and relax. But I'm going to demonstrate 4 simple salads, and we're going to go through them slowly. But we can also thank Emily because she put some slides together for everyone in the clinic, or for everyone in the presentation, so that you don't have to remember anything that I'm saying, because there's a little bit of detail with some of the salads. They're very simple, but enough detail that you're not going to want to write it down. So we have some slides for you, and you can access those, and it will have all the recipes on there and some other little helpful tips. But we wanted to make sure that you had that, so you could just sit back and relax.
Yeah, and I should also mention that this recording is going to be available at the health library for you to watch again in the future. So.
Oh, thanks, Emily. Appreciate it. And thank you for doing those awesome slides. I think everyone will really benefit from having a hard copy if they want of some of these recipes. The first recipe I'm going to demonstrate is a roasted cauliflower tahini lemon salad. And Emily, as Emily had said, really the goal for this presentation was minimal oven time. Now this salad did have a little bit of oven time because I did roast the cauliflower first. I did that last night. But the rest of the salads we're gonna do require no oven time. But this one just added a different flavor, and I thought it was kind of fun. And frankly, it's what we're all in a book club here in my neighborhood. And so it's what my neighbors and I have been eating these last few warm months. So I wanted to share those with you. So the first thing, so I'm going to use this as my kind of demonstration bowl for this first salad. And what you're going to see, I'm going to go through each one of the components. So I went ahead and I roasted the cauliflower, and that's pretty simple. I just put it in the oven, 400, a little bit of olive oil, salt, and pepper. I think I left it in there about 25 minutes, but you can, if you like it a little crisper, do it less. If you like it a little more soft, then you would do it longer. The other components is I went ahead and I pre-organized a lot of the other components of this salad. And one is a tahini lemon. It calls for a quarter of a cup of lemon juice, 1/3 of a cup of tahini, which you can, and you'd say, well, what is tahini? Tahini is a very interesting sort of a mild flavor condiment, I guess. You use it a lot in hummus and in kind of Middle Eastern, but other baking as well. It's got a very smooth, almost nutty flavor. You can get it, I think I got this at Trader Joe's, but you can pretty much get it anywhere, and it's very reasonable. That was the other component of all these salads. Everything is a very with keeping some financial situation also in mind. A lot, as Emily and I were talking about earlier, sometimes people think eating well costs you a lot of money. Well, I can tell you all these salads, everything that I did here was like less than like $30. I mean, it's a very, very, very reasonable, and I have a lot of food. So you'll see after we get done that I've got like 2 weeks of eating here. But that's the other part of liking to cook. So I've got this, so I've got a third of a cup of lemon juice. I've got tahini, I've got some garlic. I also have some spices that I already went ahead and sort of prepackaged, I guess. And this has a little bit of more heat. So it has a little bit of cumin, salt and pepper, a little bit of cayenne, and then I think there was one other thing that I thought was kind of interesting, and salt, I guess salt. So what we're gonna do now is I'm just gonna take those spices, the whole thing, I'm gonna mix it in my little food processor. Now you don't need to put it in a food processor. You can use a simple shaking device, which I'm gonna do with another dressing, but just for simplicity's sake, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna mix it. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm gonna use that bowl so it's kind of clear. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm going to put that in the food processor. I have a small food processor. Some people have larger food processors, but I kind of prefer a smaller food processor just because, well, I kind of cook in smaller batches. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my spices. I can tell already from this that I'm going to need a little extra lemon juice so that it mixes well. So I'm going to go ahead, and I like lemon, so I'm never afraid to add extra lemon to anyone. Everyone always jokes when they see me because I literally feel like I'm carrying the lemons around. Not everyone feels the way about lemons, so you don't need to add extra lemon juice. But that is something that I find that works well for me. Now I'm just going to put it on my little, hardest part about the food processor is actually getting it to kind of line up and, all right. My cap. Now, ideally with tahini, you let it sit out for a little bit because it gets almost like a peanut butter like consistency. But the warmer it is, the more it starts to liquefy. Because when I had it in the fridge, so it's a little bit more viscous, it's a little thicker. So, and that's fine, but it just means I need to add a little extra water so that I can make it a little bit more of a smoother emulsion. I'm going to put it back on the food processor. And again, this is, what's that?
I was going to ask, did you put any oil in there, or is it just the oils from the tahini that are in the dressing?
It's the oil and the tahini. I'm going to still add a little bit of oil, but I'm mixing. Sorry about that. Sometimes I like to blend and talk at the same time. Sometimes I add the oil at the end, just so that I don't know, that's just always been my process, is I kind of add it has like a real creamy consistency. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that piece. I can find where I put my oil. Here it is. And I add that at the very, kind of towards the very end as it mixes. But that's a great question. know if you can see this, but it's really got a nice, smooth, liquefied consistency. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna take my roasted cauliflower. Part of this recipe, which I also did yesterday, was we took some chickpeas and we pan fried those a little bit. We sauteed them in a little bit of spicy, a little bit of a cayenne olive oil mixture so they get a little bit crispy. And the recipe actually calls for, I think it calls for like a can. I really like the taste of cauliflower, so I use like a half of a can because I didn't want that ratio of cauliflower to chickpeas. I wanted it more cauliflower, less chickpeas. Some people might want more chickpeas and less cauliflower. Oh, and by the way, this is a full head of cauliflower. And this is about a half a can of chickpeas. And then I went ahead and I sauteed them, added a little cayenne, added some olive oil, and it's pretty much ready to go. So I'm gonna add that also to this mixture. And it also calls for about a bunch of parsley. But again, I doctored that up. I didn't want I've made this salad so many times now that I have learned that I like parsley, but I don't want as much as they ask for. So I reduce it and I cut it down again by about a half. And then I add that. I don't know if you can see this very well, but it's kind of now it's kind of all together. And I'm gonna lightly drizzle this dressing over there. I almost don't feel that you need to, the first times I made this, I kind of really saturated it, but I have found that with enough times of making it that I kind of just I like it just lightly coated with the tahini dressing, because then you really still taste the flavors of the cauliflower, the parsley, and the chickpeas. Tahini, because it does have a bit of a nutty flavor, it's very smooth, but I mean, I've just kind of learned that I like the taste of the vegetables as well. So I just kind of use just a little bit less, but I always keep it because in case I want a little extra, then I can add more to it. Typically when I'm making this salad, I oftentimes kind of have it, I roast the cauliflower, then I make it all together. So it ends up being like a little bit lukewarm, but you can also have it cold because I have it the next day for when I'm making my lunches. And I'll put it in tacos or I'll put it in, you know, as a side accompaniment. So it really goes a long way. It goes cold, it goes warm. It's a very, very flexible salad. So that is salad number one. Now we're about to involve a few kale salads. And we'll go through, and those again are very even simpler than this one because this required a little bit of oven time. So now we're going to go into some non-oven salad. So I'm going to put this over to the side and I'm going to bring my next salad. Move some of this stuff out of the way. Now this salad is called a kale and Brussels sprout salad. I love this salad because it's very, very, very simple. I went ahead and again, I used my food processor, the very one I used to make that salad, to chop up my kale and my Brussels sprouts. What this is a good amount of salad, and this is half of the bunch of kale. So it's you buy a bunch of kale at the store. I used half of it here and half of it for the next salad. And I used about 6 Brussels sprouts, 7 maybe. And it just makes this huge amount of salad mixture. So I find it to be very simple. The other thing that one of my friends was telling me, and this is also as you talking with patients and talking with friends, you can actually buy the pre-shredded kale, pre-shredded Brussels sprouts done at Trader Joe's. And so then all you need to do is make the dressing, and that's it. And it works very well with, it's a very friendly salad. It works with a lot of different foods. It's got a little bit of a stronger flavor, and I'll go over the ingredients in a second because of the pecorino cheese, but it's really, really simple to use, or really, really simple to make. So what we've got, what it's going to require is, I'm going to stuff over here to the side. Again, it's going to require a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of spices, which we'll go over, and then you can use the food processor, or you can just shake your dressing. I end up shaking it, just I wanted you to see that experience, but it's very, it's a very easily made salad dressing. So the only thing I really had to, the only real prep I had to do for this again was chop the kale, chop the Brussels sprouts. I also, it calls for a little bit of roasted almonds on top of the salad. I'm gonna eat one of them. I went ahead and I roasted these almonds last night. So that I'm gonna put on top of the salad. Otherwise, the dressing is very simple. It's a little bit of Dijon mustard, which I have here, 1/4 of a cup of lemon juice, a shallot, 1 garlic clove, and then kosher, then salt and pepper. And so that's everything I have, right in this little container. I'm going to add the lemon juice. And we're also going to add a little bit more olive oil. So I'm going to add that at the end too.
Katie, I'm curious about these salads. Do you serve these as your main dish? Do you serve them alongside other foods? Can you tell me a little bit about how you would eat these?
My process? Sure. So typically what I do is I make about 2 salads a week. And I really use them almost as a side dish every, throughout my, my work week, essentially. So that way 2 salads are always readily available for me every night when I come home. Then if I have a protein source, then I'll usually have a protein source, and we're gonna don't worry, we're gonna make that today too. But yeah, so I usually kind of have them as sides. The other thing, particularly with this Brussels sprout one, sometimes I throw it. If I make like tacos, I put that in there. If I make a sandwich, I kind of throw a little bit on there, almost as like a condiment too. I put it on I had bratwurst the other night, and I put that on top of it instead of sauerkraut. But yeah, I kind of do use it as a side. You can do it. You can. There's no reason why, like when we kind of have barbecues in our neighborhood, oftentimes what people will do have it as their salad, and then they'll throw like a protein on top of it, whether it's tofu, whether it's chicken, whether it's, whatever their protein of choice is. And that's perfectly fine. You'll find that it's very, it's cruciferous vegetable, right? So it's good. It's filling. It does fill you up. The one thing I can tell you, which really changes the flavor. So when you have it like this, you think, oh, that's just basically it's a Brussels sprout kale salad. But adding the pecorino cheese, I'm telling you, in fact, I have it in my fridge. So give me 1 second. I forgot to bring it out when I'm doing this demonstration. And I had just the right amount, just the perfect amount left, because I made this salad like 3 times in 3 weeks, just because it's just an easy salad to bring to places. And then I add the pecorino cheese, and pecorino cheese has a stronger flavor. So you'll notice you will be able to taste that cheese. but on Epicurious, I got this recipe actually from a neighbor, and it's on Epicurious, and you'll have all this when you look at your slides. I mean, I think it has like 550 likes, so it's like a pretty popular salad. And then I take my almonds that I roasted last night, and I just kind of add those on top. And that's it. That is, and it gets better and better as it over the course of the week. So it's nice when I come home at night and all I have to do is make a protein, and then I have my salads. We have one more salad to go, and it'll be another kale salad, and then we're going to get into a protein. So don't worry. I know it looks like I'm leaving the carbs out, but we can do another food demo with carbs. But today I went protein vegetables. So that's that one. I'll put these over to my side in my little workstation. And the last salad is called, and really, I think the beauty of this salad is the dressing. And that's another point I want to bring up. If you don't like kale, don't worry about it. You don't need to have kale as your base. You can use romaine, you can use spinach, you can use butter lettuce. I mean, there really is there's no whole bar. I'm not trying to push kale for the sake of kale. It's just that the kale holds up well. So, and I had a big bunch of it. And so I said, okay, let's do 2 kale salads, because both these salads are just one bunch of kale. I think when you look at the slides, I did a breakdown on the cost of some of the salads, just for people to have an idea that, you don't need to think that, that it costs a lot of money to make really good, nutritious food. It's readily accessible, and in fact, it's more reasonable than sort of processed foods. And it's simple. All these salads, I really prepped everything yesterday. The hardest part for me was actually putting it in the little containers, but everything was done in an hour. So it's once you get in the groove of it, it's really a time saver. And that's also another thing we want to stress is we want people to like the food that they're eating. We want them to save time, and we also want them to save money, so that a bunch of different issues are being addressed. So let's get to this last salad, and then we're going to go to a protein. And this salad is called a kale salad with a carrot ginger dressing. Now, on the other salad, what we did was we kept the kale pretty intact. We didn't change the consistency of the kale. And you'll find if you cook kale, or if you add lemon and olive oil, which we're going to do, you really change the consistency of the kale. The kale becomes less tough and more, it becomes softer. And that's what this salad really is going to be. It's a bit of a softer salad. And again, I just like different consistencies, because sometimes at night, I just do 3 different salads for my dinner, and then I have a little protein. So I like different flavors, and each one of these flavors, I feel that I become more satiated, or I'm full, or I feel more, I feel like, I really had a good meal in there if I have a couple different flavors in there. It really makes me feel like, okay, that made me feel satisfied. So sometimes I will have small amounts of 3 different types of salad, and then have, like a protein, and that's it. And I feel really good. Until I go to bed in the evening. So with this last salad, what I'm going to do is we do something called we massage the kale. And that's really to get, because you can see right now, it's pretty bulky. And again, this is only half of a bunch of kale. I use the other half in that Brussels sprouts kale salad. This is half of it still, and there's like a lot of kale. So I'm going to reduce it down a little bit. And how you do that is you have to add a little lemon juice, and you add a little olive oil, and then you just kind of massage it, and you're going to see the volume of it reduce. But again, if you like this salad but don't want kale, just substitute with a different lettuce. No problem. So I'm just gonna add a little lemon juice. And I just take like a half a lemon or a quarter of a lemon. Just gonna add that. Add some more of my olive oil. And I'm gonna start massaging. I don't want to do this too much so that it gets to be too small and almost wilted looking. But I've done that several times too, and it still tastes good, but I know exactly the consistency that I like. And that's really what cooking's all about, right? Trying it several different ways till you get it just the way you like it.
This is the fun part. If anyone has kids or anything, this is the part that you can get them involved with, and then maybe they'll, be more excited about trying it,
sure.
Something like that.
For sure. You get everyone involved. You always try to get people involved with the fun parts of cooking. And then you try to make the other fun parts not so fun, like cleaning up your kitchen afterward. You try to make that a little game too, so that, we always say in our family, the cook doesn't have to do the cleanup. Sometimes the cook has to do both, but we try. We just do the best we can. All right. That's kind of the consistency that I like. I try to sort of break up some of these stock-like pieces. I'm not a big fan of those, but other people like them, but I'm not. That's not my perfect jam. Get rid of that. It's such an interesting, it's like kind of almost a meditative process, because you feel the kale when you're first touching it, it's a little bit rough. It's like, it feels kind of scratchy. And then after you massage it for a while with the oh gosh, it starts to feel like silk. Okay, all right, that's about the consistency. Also, that half of a can of chickpeas that I used for my, you'll see there's a method here to my madness, that I used for my cauliflower salad. I just used the rest of the can for this salad, because this salad also asks for chickpeas, and they're not roasted with cayenne. These are just good old fashioned roasted chickpeas. So I just threw those in the oven at the same time I roasted my cauliflower. So usually when I'm making these 2 salads a week, like we were talking about earlier, I kind of try to know what I'm making in a sense, so that I can, if I'm going to open up 1 can of chickpeas, that I can use it for 2 salads, right? So that I'm kind of getting more bang for my buck. So that's kind of how I do it. But then that way I feel like I use everything up and I don't have to really have too much extra. So now let's make the dressing. It does call for a little bit of, I went ahead and so the base of this dressing is called carrot ginger. So I did have to roast up a small amount of carrot to go in the dressing. So I roasted it on the same day I roasted the cauliflower. So I've got that already pre-portioned here, and the dressing, or pardon me, the spices, or the spices that go along with it. In here I have a little bit of a minced ginger, sea salt, and then of course my favorite, lemon juice. But it's a pretty simple. This recipe is pretty simple. It just asks, the dressing is just literally carrots, water, olive oil, rice vinegar, minced ginger, and then sea salt. So this, I'm going to use my food processor again. So I'm going to grab my trusty food processor. I'm going to give it a rinse here because it still has a little bit of the tahini dressing in it. Okay. Sometimes my salads I'll end up tasting when I'm batch cooking on a Sunday before work. sometimes I don't do that great of a job of rinsing out my food processor. So sometimes I have a lot of different flavors in some of my salads. Let's see what I do with mine.
Katie, is the ginger in the dressing fresh ginger or is it like a dry ginger?
Fresh ginger. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm kind of a fresh ginger gal. And you mince it first. I love ginger in general. Sometimes I just make like a ginger tea. So I always have there's never like, there's always in my kitchen like fresh ginger. And you just cut off a small little bit, and then you mince it to the degree you like, right? Ginger's a strong flavor. So not everyone wants as much ginger as I like, but you got to remember the carrots really soften the flavor of the ginger, and then the rice vinegar just adds a kick. So yes, it is, to answer your question there. And by the way, fresh ginger stays so good forever. I mean, I keep it there for like, I'm working with it on several dishes. So let's go ahead. I'm going to add this carrot mixture to my food processor. I'm going to add the spices. I'm going to add the lemon juice. Lemon juice and water. We'll give that a start with that. Wondering why that wasn't turning very well. Okay. So now with this, I like to pour this one into like a different container to drizzle it. For whatever reason, I like to keep it a little bit on the side because, again, I don't use that much dressing. Again, I kind of like the taste of the kale. And then you'll just add a little bit of this dressing on top. It's already pretty well moistened because of what we did with massaging it. And then I'm going to add my chickpeas, again, that I had roasted. When did I roast this? I roasted, yeah, yesterday, I guess. I'm going to add a little bit of this. And then you'll add some of your other items. I think you can see this. You'll be able to add some of, there's radish. You'll add, if you want. Again, not everyone is a big fan of radishes, but you can add radish pepitas, which are a lot like, like a little bit of a seed that you can add on top that add an extra crunch, and then avocado. And I just, again, portioned everything out in a small little container. And I add that to
Are these seasonal toppings you're putting on, or can we mix it up with like seasonal stuff? What do you think?
What do you mean? Like
summer seasonal vegetables like corn?
Oh yeah. Actually, on this salad, I add a lot of different things. I add like sweet potato to it. Sometimes if I have that, sometimes I add fruit to it because of this carrot, this carrot ginger, because it's got a little sweet and savory. Sometimes I add a little fruit to this salad, but a small amount, or like you said, make the whole thing a savory dish, and then I might add sweet potato to it, or depending on what corn, like you said, squash. But this one plays very well. Some of the other salads, well, the Brussels sprout one plays almost can do with the keto diet almost, because you could have that and then have your protein and you will be full. This one plays very well with seasonal vegetables and seasonal fruits, and the dressing is just outstanding. So that, so it just makes it pretty simple. And then sometimes I'll add a little cheese to it, but if I want to have like a vegan night or something, then I won't add any cheese. I don't subscribe to any. I love all types of food in terms of my proteins, my carbs, my fats. But every I like to try different things. I like to try different meal plans. So sometimes I'll say, okay, let's have tonight be dairy free, or tonight might be vegetarian, or tonight, would be more, it would be carb free, so that it's, I'm trying a lot of, I like to experiment with the meal plan. So, and it allows me to explore other foods and other ways of eating, because certainly in the job that I have, there's a lot of different ways that people choose to eat. Ideally, you're eating with friends and family, but then this way it allows me to have some conversation when we're talking about different foods or what they like. And oftentimes I'm asking what they do, and they're telling me, giving me ideas on certain cooks and ways of cooking, and then it's a learning process for all of us, and that just makes it fun. So you notice we just did 3 salads. We did a cruciferous themed salad for a while, with the cauliflower, and then we did the Brussels sprouts, kale, and now we did a carrot ginger kale recipe. And again, we used so little ingredients, really just a lot of the same ingredients from the same batch of kale. So, and we've got 3 different salads. The last recipe I'm going to demo is a protein, and it's literally what I've been eating, I think, for like the past week. This is a protein. So we're going to get away from the salads here for a second. And I know, I'll get into that in a second. This, because a lot of times, so I did a lot of salads. These are, your side accompaniments, and some people, say, well, okay, now what am I going to have as my main? Obviously, if you're barbecuing, you'll have a lot of different things, but I wanted to give, and we all know what those foods would be, but I wanted to give another option. I wanted to bring to try, because I didn't have a lot of familiarity with tofu. And a couple of my patients were telling me all about, different tofu dishes that they were having. And I, always thought that was interesting, because I know how well tofu plays with different spices, and it works so well with, with absorbing a lot of different flavors. But I'd never really tried it. And so I got this recipe from one of my neighbors, and it is so simple, and it is so good that I have been eating it every day. And I do it, of course, a little bit different than the recipe calls, and you'll see the recipes when you get your slides, or you get a copy of the presentation, and then you can kind of doctor it the way you want. But I'll go ahead and I'll demo that one, and I'll literally be demoing. There's really no preparation on this salad. The only thing I can say that I did in advance is I did. So you buy firm tofu. That is actually pretty important. I did not make that the first time I made it, I did not buy firm tofu, but it really is very helpful if you buy firm tofu. And then what you do is you have to get the excess water out of the tofu. So you put a cloth over the tofu. You take it out of the container, put a cloth over the tofu, put like a cast iron pot on top of that cloth, and then come back in about 30 minutes. You're going to see that there's a lot of water that has left the tofu. It's a lot easier to work with, particularly if you're going to pan fry it. And that's what I do. You don't need to in this recipe. You don't need to pan fry the tofu, but it's what I like to do. So I'll do the recipe based on how I like to do it. But I'll tell you the recipe as it is. So how you do this salad, and it's called, well, it's not a salad, pardon me. I guess you could use it for a salad, though. You could put it on any one of the salads I just made. In fact, that's what I did all week. It's called marinated Italian tofu. So this salad really, this tofu actually has more like Italian spices in it. So the ingredients for this is, again, the tofu, which I went ahead and I drained. I got the excess water off, and then I cut it into small cubes. And then olive oil, tamari sauce, which is, you could probably use soy sauce, but I'm gluten-free. And so tamari is gluten-free. And we can ask Emily and Leah about that afterward. If we could sub in soy sauce, I'm not really sure. You can ask them, but I'm gluten-free, so I wanted tamari. Garlic, lemon zest, basil, half a tablespoon of basil, half tablespoon of, pardon me, teaspoon, not tablespoon. I suppose if you wanted more tofu, you could do a tablespoon, but it's half teaspoon of basil, oregano, thyme, sea salt, and black pepper. So those are the ingredients. And literally all you do, and we'll do this together. So the only thing I did, we're going to put it all in a Ziploc bag, and then we're just going to marinate it. And well, my friends eat it right away. I wait for about 30 minutes, and I really like to let it marinate overnight, but I just think it's so good. It's been my lunch every day this week. So I went ahead and I did pre-portion out the spices and the lemon zest and the garlic. So I have that in here. And again, it's like a half teaspoon of everything. So it's like so simple. And that's my kind of my style. Some of the spices wanted to stick to the bottom there. It does, now you might be, but we can ask Leah, or we can or Emily about, it does cause for a 1 teaspoon of maple syrup. I do add it. I don't know if you left it out, if it would change much of a difference, but I do add it. And so what you do is I'm going to grab a little bit of maple syrup here. I'm going to add about a teaspoon. I know my teaspoons these are just my regular spoons, but I know mine is a teaspoon, so I feel very comfortable in using that. I'm not overdoing it on the maple syrup. And then I'm going to add some tamari, and I think it called for 2 tablespoons. Oh, 2 tablespoons. So I'm going to grab my tablespoon. I know it's probably nicer to do this in a bowl, but since I marinate it in a Ziploc bag, it's just easier for me to do it in a Ziploc bag.
I'll chime in and say soy sauce is totally a substitute, and the recipe actually calls for low sodium tamari and soy sauce, which is a great choice for anyone. Using the low sodium option is really good.
That's a great point. I think actually my tamari is actually low sodium. I think as a general rule, I try to buy low sodium. So so this is I'm adding a 1/3 of a cup of olive oil. And I think it's a 1/3 of a cup of balsamic. I love recipes that kind of keep it simple for me, that they're not changing the measuring increments too much. If they're all different, then I get confused. I'm just going to add balsamic. Now I'm going to add my tofu. I'm not kidding you. I know this sounds like, no, it can't be that good, but I'm telling you, I've eaten it and I'll tell you how I eat it in here in a second. So I'm going to put it all in the Ziploc. Oh, you know what I forgot to add? This has been my little secret addition, so I'm going to grab it. I've been liking to add chili flakes. You don't have to, but I kind of find that it adds a little bit of a heat. So I've been adding a little, about maybe a quarter of a teaspoon of chili flakes. Obviously the recipe doesn't call for that, but I find that I like it, so I add it. And now, so my neighbor's really funny, because I told her, I said, well, about a year ago when I first started making this, I said, well, you have to let it marinate. She goes, what are you kidding? She goes, I start eating it right away, right? When I put it in the Ziploc bag, I start to eat it. What I like to do, so now it's marinating in the bag. What I like to do is I'll let it marinate. I usually do let it marinate overnight, but that's me. But, just because I like those flavors, and they're very subtle, but they're so kind of savory and sweet at the same time. And in the recipe itself, it says just throw it right on a salad just like this. You don't even need, you don't need to pan fry it. But what I've been doing is every day I'll grab out about 7 or 8 cubes, and I just pan fry them. I pan fry them for about 3 minutes on each, till the 3 minutes each side, I guess, of the tofu, or how would you say? I guess I turn the tofu, let's say every few minutes till they get kind of crispy all the way around. And then I take little lettuce cups or little lettuce leaves, and I just put them on top of lettuce leaves once they've got this crispy consistency. And then put a little bit of, I dice up some cucumber, I dice up a little bit of carrots, and then I just have these little tofu with, and I put a little, sometimes depending on what I want, I'll add a little cilantro to it, or I'll add a little jalapeno, or I might add a little mint to kind of give it like a more exotic lettuce cup feel. But I've been having that every day for lunch, along with, some other little side, but it's such a satisfying protein that, what can I say? As I said before, I love making different things. I love trying it. And this one is the one between this and one of these salads a week, it's literally been my like staple for the past, I guess, since the weather started getting nicer. So that's kind of, we just did, oh gosh, I kind of probably went over. Hopefully I'm not taking up too much time, but when I get talking about food, I get too excited. So I think I could probably demo. Oh, I know what I was going to demo. We forgot to talk about, you must be thirsty now after all these foods. I did want to talk a little bit about beverages for summer drinks. Again, the summer comes and obviously the go-to drink is always water. But what I've been doing, again, as the weather's getting nicer, is I've been doing a lot of fruit infused drinks. So over here to the side, I've got different containers filled with so much fruit, you can't believe it. And then that's what I've been sipping on throughout the day. And not always, you can do, sometimes it's fruit infused, sometimes I just do cucumber and lemon and a basil leaf, or sprigs of rosemary. So that's the way, because I do have a bit of a sweet tooth. I do like sweeter drinks, but I have, over the past couple of years, I just have kind of eliminated that from my diet, but I still like a little bit of a kick when I'm having, water. And so adding this sort of fruit essence to my drinks has been fantastic. And then adding different things, whether I want it more, cucumber. And again, on these slides, I have different examples of how you can do these kind of fruit infused waters. But my neighbor actually told me, she said, have you ever tried some of these fruit infused waters over sparkling water? And that actually was really enjoyable, was having, I think we did a basil, lemon cucumber spritzer. And it was just in, we kind of, we'll make our own, we have one of those soda streams or whatever. So we kind of made our own sparkling water so we don't have to kind of waste the plastic bottles, but the plastic bottles are fine too. But then that has been really nice to change up waters, have it, have sparkling, and having a little bit of fruit infused or lemon juice, cucumber infused sparkling water. So that's kind of been my go-to. And when you're eating so clean, I'm going to say, I know that's kind of a word for now, or just feeling so, eating so light, those fruit infused waters just seem to top everything off, and you just, I don't know, it's just a really nice feeling. You feel hydrated, you feel well fed. So this has been, you can see, this is exactly what I'm doing every week, and it feels great, and I love it. So I'm glad I was able to come here and demo my process.
Thank you so much for sharing with us.
I'm thrilled to, and go ahead.
Enthusiasm is infectious. I know I'm ready to go, whip up some salads in my kitchen, and I just want to try all these things that you're raving about. So thank you so much. And I don't know if anyone has any questions. We have a little bit of time. Like Katie said,
I think the thing that Leah has always imparted is, it's always just nice to remind yourself of, the salads and the vegetables and everything that you have available to you, and you can doctor it up in any way. But now that we're going to want to be outside more and the weather's nice, and there's nothing better than just having some really easy foods ready for you when you get home, that, kind of watching our waistlines, watching our blood sugars while watching our, our wallets at the same time too. So that's, you kind of want to think, we think about the whole person and in all parts of ourselves. So that's hopefully what I was able to convey when you're able to make fun foods like this, but that are kind of dual purpose. You're eating well, you feel good, blood sugars are well controlled, and you're not breaking the bank.
I have a question here that asked if we'll be sending the recipes. And yes, everyone who's on the Zoom will be getting the PowerPoints that have the recipes on them. And they also have the sources of the recipes. They were all online for free. So I think one was from Budget Bites website, one was from Epicurious, and one was from a blog called Love and Lemons. So you'll be able to have the slides with the recipe and also be able to find them online as well.
Yeah, and find, on those websites, amongst others, there's so many good places out there. There's so many good choices out there. So this is just meant to be a segue for you to find what you think, what this works for me, and this may work for you, but you also might find in this process, you find something else that works for you. And that's what the key is. It's a lifelong journey with food, and that's the way it should be.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Katie. The feedback is thanks for all the healthy ideas and the recipes. Can't wait to try the kale salad and the ginger dressing and the tofu. So you really sparked a lot of interest and excitement over your beverages and summer meals. And we just thank you so much for presenting to us tonight. So thank you. It doesn't seem like we have any more questions. So this kind of concludes our night. So you can all go home and enjoy maybe all these cool, exciting recipes. So you'll get them in your inbox tomorrow. They'll be sent out to all the attendees.
Thanks for having me. I hope I can come back.
Of course.